What's up, soldiers? Chris here, CaribbeanPot.com. Always a pleasure having you guys here in the kitchen with me. What you are looking at there is the beginnings. Yes, we just started. Curry stew goat. Not stewed, curry stew. Understand? Stay tuned. You're going to love this one, man. Change things up. Forget about that curry goat. Yes. I've got here about 4.5 pounds of goat meat. And we're going to season it. And this is one of those recipes where seasoning it overnight works best. It really allows that goat. Goat can be, it has a flavor on its own. And to add more flavor, you have to be purposeful about it. So if you can do this overnight, by all means do so. If not, a couple hours and you're good. We've got salt. I like using sea salt. That's just my preference. There's no rhyme or reason for it. Curry stew means there's a curry element. So your favorite curry powder. So I'm just gonna hit him about 1.5 tablespoons of curry powder. Now keep in mind, if you are trying to do this gluten-free, read the label of the curry powder that you choose to use. Some of them may tend to have flour as a filler and a thickener. They're going in now with black pepper. We need Caribbean green seasoning. We've talked about this several times before. Caribbean green seasoning is a blend or a puree of all the herbs we like using in our dishes, and 2 tablespoons of that Caribbean green seasoning. After I make mine in olive oil and I store it in the fridge. Some people use water, some people use vinegar, and along with those herbs we've got garlic and seasoning peppers and different elements to it. Go to CaribbeanPot.com. That recipe is there. Then we're gonna hit it with onions. Just go in with a medium onion. A scotch bonnet pepper. I'm just gonna grab the stem off it, and I'm going in with the entire thing. You don't have to. If you're concerned about the raw heat, don't use the seeds and the white area here. That is where most of that heat is gonna be. Try to avoid that at all costs. And in my Caribbean green seasoning, there are scallions and thyme and what else? Shadow Benny, Spanish thyme, French thyme. All those different things is in there. There's no basil or anything like that. So if you want to make it, head over to CaribbeanPot.com and that recipe is there. I have here a medium tomato, and the tomato is going to help with the gravy later on. Plus the acidity from that tomato will help to balance off the flavors. For additional flavor, I like to go in with some grated ginger in there. And that's going to have a peppery element as well, so be mindful of that when you're adding it. So if you know that scotch bonnet pepper is going to be too much heat and you just want to focus more on the ginger, by all means do so. And basically the last thing you need to do is to give that a good mix. Yes, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but this is bone-in goat meat. That's the only goat I like to ramp with. Those bones give you that deep, rich goat flavor. Is there such a thing? Now this will work with the lamb as well too, if lamb is all you have. Toss it in the fridge now, allow that to marinate overnight or at least 2 hours. I'm excited to jump out the bowl there, boy. I've got my nice big heavy pot here on a high flame with 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil. I just moved it around just to coat the bottom there. And I'm gonna go in with 1.5 tablespoons of brown sugar. If you've never seen me do this before, a couple things I want to mention to you all. This is the sort of browning or the stewing part of it. The curry was part of the seasoning process. This is the stewing process, thus curry stew. Anyhow, we're gonna allow that to melt. It's gonna go amber in color, then it's gonna go frothy. Once it goes dark, not black, amber, dark amber, that's when we're gonna add the seasoned goat into the pot. If it goes black, shut it down, turn it off, put that pot on the side, allow it to cool down. Then after it's cooled, remember I said after it's cooled, you wash it and you start over again. Make sure it's a dry pot. Make sure you have a spoon with a long handle. This, when you add the goat to there, may want to jump back at you. That is melted sugar. I am sure you can understand how hot that is going to be. Turn the fan on over your stove. It will become very smoky very soon. And lastly, last little tip, have that seasoned goat close. Notice the proximity, because when in there, pow. One thing I must mention as well, my stove I know have two hot spots, and that is where it's going dark there and it's going dark here. And this is why I like to move it around, just so everything is the same sort of uniform color. And I notice the entire thing is dark now, so here's where quickly we're gonna start adding the goat to the pot. Now what we're trying to do is to cook up all of that browning and coat the pieces of goat with that browning. Just make sure you're sort of deglazing the bottom of the pot here. And to notice the goat is starting to take on that color. If you're wondering, my goat, I forgot to mention this earlier, but the goat was washed with the juice of 2 limes and cool water. Along with that lime that I mentioned I use, you can use lemon juice or vinegar in washing that goat. Now, old school Caribbean, what they would tell you is 1, you don't season the goat with salt, you add the salt at the end, and 2, you don't wash the meat with an acid such as lime or lemon, because both things tend to toughen the goat meat. To be honest with you, I've been using limes and lemons and salting early on, and I've never noticed the difference, to be honest with you, versus when I go the route of using flour to wash. Yeah, flour and water to wash that goat meat. I haven't seen a huge difference, to be honest with you. What we're going to do is turn the heat down to medium now. We want that to spring up its natural juices. We're going to put the lid on there, but before we do, I like going in with some whole cloves of garlic. If you don't love garlic, we cannot be friends. Lid on, and let that go for about 10-15 minutes on that medium heat. And you'll notice immediately how much liquid that goat has naturally sprouted up there. That is good. And notice how it's starting to tighten up as well, as starting to shrink. All of that water that was in is coming out. So what we need to do here to intensify the flavor and the color and everything else, we're going to burn off all of that liquid. So we're going to crank up the heat to high. It's going to take about 4 or 5 minutes to burn off all that liquid. We're trying to get back to the oil that we started off with. In the meanwhile, put about 3.5 to 4 cups of water in the same bowl where you marinated the goat in, to pick up any sort of missing kind of hole back area, ready to go in the pot, yet kind of marinade is going in the pot. You can see the bottom of the pot here. You can see the oil that we started off with. Plus, goat meat can be very fatty. So you will notice we're going to render down some more oil. This is where now my heat is still on high. You notice the lovely color we've got there, that intense browning happened there. Dark of the berries, sweet of the juice. Anyhow, we're going to start putting the water in here now. Along with some coconut powder. If you don't have coconut powder and you have coconut milk, that's basically what we just added there. And that coconut milk is going to add a lovely sweetness to the dish. Now, here's the thing. I know if you're new to Caribbean food and cooking and the culinary culture of the region, when you saw that brown sugar go in there, you think, well, this is going to be sweet. Listen to me, ladies and gentlemen. If you've never had it, I can assure you it will not be sweet. If you are using coconut milk, you will need about 2 cups of that coconut milk. I just opted for the coconut powder, milk powder, because that is what I have on hand. We're going to bring that up to a boil, reduce it to a simmer, lid on, and let that go low and slow for at least 2.5 hours. Now that is dependent on how old the goat was when it was butchered. An older goat will be more tough. A younger goat will cook quicker. It's been about 2.5 hours. Now here's the thing, keep an eye on things in case you need to add more liquid, add hot water to the mix here. 2.5 hours later, you're going to do a couple personalizations, or 3 things. You will check it to see how tender it is, if it's tender enough for you. This is tender enough for me. I know that for a fact. I've got ESP. I've got goat ESP. Let me just say that. Taste it for salt and adjust it. And finally, you see that gravy there? You're in control. You're the gravy boss at this point. I know you're gonna have your rice and peas, you're gonna have your steamed rice, you're gonna have your sada roti or your bus-up shot. You need to have that gravy there, or your family will be like, wait, why he wasting time making curry stew goat without any gravy? No, we don't want that. So do them personalizations, add more water if you need to build up that gravy. And nobody don't want no long water, kind of orange juice kind of gravy. Eh? No, we're not drinking juice, we want gravy. So nice and thick. Try that again. Alright. Sup soldiers? Listen, if you enjoy this recipe, I'd really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and click that bell notification thing. If you've made the recipe, take a picture and send it to me. Email address down here. I'm really trying to tell people the email address, them butts will take the address and do all kind of thing with it. And tag me on Instagram at Caribbean Pot. I really appreciate you guys and thanks for being in my kitchen with me today. Irene? Irene. Chris here, CaribbeanPot.com. Always a pleasure having you guys here in the kitchen with me. My gravy, my salt, my tenderness is everything on point. What I like doing, especially with goat, I like going in with some parsley. That parsley, because of the fatty nature of that goat, will sort of cut back some of the fat. Sometimes, when you boil peckish, I also grate in some lemon zest in there or some lime zest. Let's look at it now. Just look at that niceness. That's all you. You have to give this a try. Can I zoom in anymore? Hold on. Let me see if we can zoom in somewhat for you all to see exactly what Uncle Chris is talking about. Look at the niceness. Imagine making this for your family. Man, you're getting Christmas present like no tomorrow. Birthday, they will never miss a birthday again. Valentine's Day, it's all kind of love again. Even Thanksgiving, the biggest bird coming into the house. Well, the go-to. I just talking nonsense now. Enjoy all the day, alright?